So, being that it's Calgary that I'm filming from, or like lots of other parts of Canada, we have a really short kind of growing season. So, unless you're hooked up with like a green space, a greenhouse with lights and stuff like that, you're only going to really have to work with what the sun is going to give you. So there's a lot of different options you can look at, depending on what you're growing and what you have. So I like to grow my basic herbs. Like I've got a thyme plant that I've got you leaned up against right now, and I've got a sage and a basil and a rosemary and a catmint for Otis and a lemon balm. So we've got some herbs still from last summer, some even from the summer before, that are just like kind of making it through the winter. My theory, I guess, is that the longer I can make them go, the stronger they'll get, and then they can make it through those winter months a little easier when they're more established. Like for those in the summer when they're blooming a lot and I get a lot of foliage and a lot of yield from them, I can take all those leaves and I'll dry them out. And when you're drying them, you want to make sure that they're really dry because even when you think they're dry, sometimes they're not. Some people like to leave them on the stem, and you can chop up the stem and use that as well, utilizing every part of the plant. Or you can take them all off the stem and dry them out like that because the stem is going to hold the most moisture. Um, so that's the part that's going to slow down your drying process. But however, which way you do it, you dry your herbs out and then you can jar them after. I would recommend not putting your lid on all the way when you put them in the jar, and maybe give them a shake every so often because, like I said, when you think they're dry, they're not that dry, and then you get that musky smell, and now your bottle of herbs is kind of screwed, and that's not good. You don't want any mold or anything like that going on in there. So make sure that even though it's jarred, to keep it kind of aired out at the same time, if you know what I mean. Or if you have a better solution or process, I'd love to hear it. But that's what I do. What was I gonna say about that? Oh yes. So that's how you can that's how you can kind of utilize your what you're growing in the summer all year round, right? So you harvest your foliage off of your plants throughout the summer, right? Because they're going to get bigger, they need to get trimmed. And I even do it in the winter too. I just don't do as much as I would in the summer. So I try to get as much as I can through the summer months, and then you just kind of stow that away and use it for winter. And you do get a pretty good yield. Like I'm still living on basil from the summer, and I'll show you what I got. So this is still from my basil from the summer, and that's quite a lot. That's a lot of basil. And I don't have the cork in there. I sit it in my cupboard like this and give it a turn every so often, give it a shake, right? Ooh, I spilled some. And yeah, like it lasts a long time, and it's not like buying your Italian seasoning mix from the store. Yeah, it tastes good, but you're not getting as much of the properties from it. And I mean, taste is great, don't get me wrong, but you want to get something out of it too. I always thought that, like, if you're not getting something out of a food, then what's the point in eating it? Even if it's gross, if it's really good for you, I don't know, find a way to get it in there. Um, but what I was gonna say too about bottling your herbs, I had just recently read about certain kinds of glass and the way that the light breaks down the the potency of it. So I've heard that leaving your dried herbs in the light isn't good. So a lot of people like to put a string up and dry your herbs out like that in bundles. And I would say that, I do the same, but I have mine kind of in a shaded area. I wouldn't string your string across a window where it's getting a lot of direct sun because that sun is breaking it down. The same thing with pot too. Actually, if you have a bag of pot and you leave it out in the sun, it's a plant, it's a bud, right? So it's breaking it down. It's going to lose potency sitting in the sunlight. So with that, one of the best things that you can do is get bottles that are amber in color or cobalt blue. For some reason, those colors just block the rays better, I guess. I mean, it sounds logical enough. And this was actually one of my good friends make this oil infusions, I guess you could call them. I'm not sure how you would put it, but they're all natural. And his main brand is Botanical Rain. Where's the camera on there? There we go. And this stuff smells amazing. Like, never mind for hand sanitizer. I just like it to. It smells so good. But he's got a website and you can purchase this, and they're actually really good deal. I think he said they're somewhere around 15 or 20 bucks a bottle, which is really good because I've paid up to 35, 40 bucks for a bottle this size at whatever little local store. So, and he is local, so that's also nice to support someone that's doing something natural and good. But if you're interested, yeah, Botanical Rain, great stuff. He's just getting started, so maybe go show your support if that's something you're interested in. Yeah, and the amber bottle, right? So that kind of protects the properties. Um, yeah, and sorry, I'm getting kind of like off track here. I was talking about trying to sustain your plants all year round. How to keep them. Another great thing is if you know how to jar or can, um, you pickled carrots, pickled beans, you can keep all these things that way. I've also kind of thought about the sun drying method too. I don't know a whole lot about that, like the dehydrating. I would love to try it with fruit first. I don't know how much dehydrating of vegetables there is, but I'm sure it could be done. It's just something different to me, I guess. But yeah, any way that you can think of preserving them is great. I've heard that you can freeze herbs and vegetables. Again, I'm not so sure how that freezing works, like if it's gonna take away from any kind of potency. So if anyone knows anything about that, that would be great. And yeah, just to try and think of like how long you can make something last, right? Is key because our growing season is so short. Yeah, that about wraps it up.